Hi, everybody. My name is Suzie Wagner, and I am a VSAC outreach counselor with the EOC, or Educational Opportunity Center program. And I generally serve people from Windham County and Southern Windsor as well. It's nice to see you all here tonight.
Hi, everybody. I am Andrea Gould, and I am also an educational counselor, and I cover Central Vermont, Washington County, and Lamoille County. And we're very happy that you're here tonight. So I guess we need the next slide. Yes. Okay.
So we have quite a lot we want to cover with you all tonight in the next hour. It's a lot of information. And so again, as Anna said, you can ask questions throughout in the chat, or we will hopefully have some time at the end as well. First, we want to just, what we've already done a little bit already, some introductions, and give you the overview of the program that we work for at VSAC, which can provide some one-on-one support to people who are exploring their future options. We're going to cover a little bit about finding the program that's right for you, because that is an essential step in finding the right training program. We're going to talk a lot about the different types of short-term training that are out there. Oh, I think we've lost our shared screen there. But I'll just keep going. We're going to also then really get into the meat of the presentation, which is covering a wide variety of different examples of certificate and training programs that are located throughout the state. We're going to just explore online learning, which I know now people are much more familiar with than we were even a year ago. And then a very important topic, funding. How can we find some financial aid and other resources to help cover the cost of these programs for students? And then again, hopefully at the end, we'll have some time for questions and answers.
Okay, so we mentioned the name of our program. We are a federal program that serves adults, and most of the people we serve are people who do not yet have a four-year degree, but we also serve high school seniors. And our program is housed at VSAC. So we are connected to VSAC in a very big way. And we work closely with our colleagues at VSAC. So there are most of the people who we serve are first generation college students and have lower moderate income. So the ways that we can help you as EOC counselors, and also the way VSAC can help you in the future, is we can assist you with the following types of things: career exploration, options for education and training, information and access to financial aid, and we offer ongoing support and referrals to many other agency partners in Vermont.
So I'm going to cover this slide around choosing the program for you that's the right fit. And I'd like to start by just saying yesterday, VSAC had a whole 1 hour session on this very topic, exploring your interests, your skills, your abilities and values in order to really find what is the right fit for you personally. So again, we're just touching on it briefly here, but that session from yesterday was recorded, and we should soon see it posted on the VSAC website if you'd like to watch that. In looking at who you are, especially for a young person who's exploring career opportunities for the first time, it can be difficult to know the answer to some of these questions. You may be just starting to explore interests. You may be just starting to develop skills, getting to know yourself and who you are. But you do have some nuggets there that can really help inform you about what the best next step is for you in life. And we say when you group these pieces together, you'll find that sweet spot right in the middle where there is that overlap, where you'll hopefully find the career which makes you happy, which is a great match for your skills, and will help pay the bills, of course, which is important. So one of the first steps before even exploring training programs is really getting to know yourself. And I'll say also the VSAC website has some great tools available to you where you can explore them further, or again, you can work with one of us counselors. We're happy to help with some of those things.
So when we use the term short-term training, and a term that is being used much more widely now, which is the term credentials of value, it can include many different things. So it's kind of an umbrella term to include examples of what it might include are starting by taking an individual class, a short-term class that may offer you some skills and even some certifications that you may be able to use in your professional life. So examples of this are something like taking a CPR or a first aid class. For people who are in the hospitality industry, Serve Safe, having to do with food handling. For safety in the workplace, the OSHA trainings are available, and there's many others. We just offered a couple of examples so you can get a sense of some types of classes that may be short-term, maybe last a few weeks, even a few days, and sometimes a few months. Another type of training we call short-term trainings, because these may last a little longer, and these may include a combination of several different skill areas. So examples of this, the LNA training, Licensed Nursing Assistant, is offered, it's offered widely at tech centers and sometimes at nursing homes and different facilities. And these classes can last several weeks, and they usually include an academic component and a hands-on component, a clinical component. Another example of a short-term training which can lead to licensure is commercial driving training. And there are a couple of different types of CDL trainings that are available. And there's also endorsements that can be added on to those trainings. So when you think of really big tractor trailers, we're talking about the CDL-A training. And CDL-B training is for smaller vehicles and smaller types of trucks. Could be, you know, there's also heavy equipment. There's a lot of different things, and there's different endorsements and licensure that can be acquired. And then the last one we want to talk about a little bit here, and we'll talk about as we go through our presentation, are certificate programs, which are usually a combination of several classes. It can be, 2 or 3, it could be 10 classes leading to a certificate of some kind, which hopefully will provide you with entry-level access to jobs in specific fields you may be interested in. So some examples we included here, as you can see, bookkeeping, massage therapy, paramedic training, medical billing and coding, IT certifications, construction management. There's many, many certificates out there. And oftentimes these certificates and these credits can be used toward working toward a degree. If you decide to pursue some kind of a degree in the future, you can often build on these certificates and then complete an associate's and maybe leading to even a bachelor's degree.
Another type of short-term training that's really popular in Vermont and around the country is the Registered Apprenticeship Program. Vermont has a robust program. And it's really quite interesting how many different occupations now are apprenticeable. So many people will think of traditional occupations, for example, electrician or plumbing, and those are still very popular types of apprenticeships. But as you can see here right now, there are over 25 occupations in Vermont that have active apprentices working. A reason apprenticeship can be a really great option for people is that it has that work and learn combination at the same time. So one of the biggest challenges with pursuing any type of higher education is often the cost, or that the student is looking at needing to work at the same time that they're going to school. So apprenticeship is amazing in that it really can bridge that. A student can start working in the field, in the profession that they're really interested in, and learn at the same time. And as they're growing in that occupation, there are structured wage increases that are part of it. And so it's quite a great option now. There are a number of different ways that students can access apprenticeship. So we've put a few on this slide. One thing to note, this presentation, of course, that we're sharing is a PowerPoint, but it will be shared with everyone after who's registered for this session. And so when you receive the PowerPoint, if you'd like to look into any of these resources further, you can simply go through and click on any of these, and you will bring you to the site and it will show you more information. So for apprenticeship, the Vermont Department of Labor is really the anchor for apprenticeships in Vermont. They have a website with just a wealth of information to explore. Two of the primary educational partners for apprenticeship in Vermont are Vermont Technical College and the Community College of Vermont. So these links here, you can explore further and you can see directly which types of occupations they partner around apprenticeship. Just a note, you may have noticed a couple of glitches in our presentation tonight. I'm sharing my screen. Just a note to Andrea, as we're going through our presentation further, some of the links we may not be able to access as we were hoping, but we're going to try our best as we go through some future slides here. Okay.
Yeah, I do see a note that says Anna is the host now. I wonder if she could take over the.
Yeah, I've been actually messaging with Anna on the side, and Zoom has crashed twice on her. So here's technology fun for us, but we'll do our best with this.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I will say also, you know, as we're going through the presentation, I don't see any questions coming in, which is just fine. But if you do have any questions as we're going through, again, feel free to put them in the chat and we're happy to help answer those for you. Okay, we'll move forward now.
Okay. Okay, so what we have here is we decided to show visually an example of how different credentials they call them stackable credentials now because they can build on one another. So when we say stackable credentials, it's really a series of trainings, certifications, endorsements, and licenses, which you can combine, and you don't have to combine all of the options, but here's an example of some ways that someone could combine some in this particular field, which let's say you start out and you become an LNA, a licensed nursing assistant, and you decide you want to add the credential of becoming a phlebotomist, which is a separate training that you can take. And Vermont Technical College offers that training actually at Central Vermont Medical Center. Some people also, when they're an LNA, decide to add another training and another certification. It's medication nursing assistant. So it allows you as an LNA to also give out medication. Some people might want to go further with nursing from being an LNA and decide to apply for a program to become a licensed practical nurse, which is a one-year program In Vermont, it's only offered through Vermont Technical College, but there's 12 sites, or I'm not even sure how many sites there are at this point, but there's a lot of sites around the state. So, and usually when someone is going to pursue the LPN program, they take a few classes, usually through CCV, which are considered kind of foundation classes to be accepted into the LPN program. So sometimes when you test out nursing by becoming an LNA, you may realize that you really want to go further with that. And once you're in the LPN program, you can, if you do well enough, you have to maintain a B average. You could apply for the second year to become a registered nurse, which is also an associate's degree. And this is also through Vermont Technical College. So there's a pathway right there, and that can even continue on and go further, but we're going to stop with kind of associate's degree right here. Some people who are working perhaps as an LNA might decide that they want to work, become a medical assistant, and there's a certificate program available at CCV, which we'll show you in a little while, but medical assisting programs are available in other places. There are other programs that you can take. And sometimes someone will decide that they're more interested in doing something more administrative, more office related with in a doctor's office or a medical setting. And that might actually lead to pursuing becoming a medical billing and coding specialist. And the medical billing and coding specialty, actually, someone who pursues that certificate can actually take a national exam and become certified nationally as a medical billing and coding specialist. Some medical assistants might choose another path. They may be much more interested in the clinical aspect, working with patients directly and not really pursuing much of the administrative perspective. And a lot of these types of certifications and these, career paths, you can work in many different settings. So it's not just a hospital, it's not just a doctor's office. There's a lot of different places that you can go with it. So this is just an example of how you might, wind your way into an interesting career by trying out and adding on and stacking up and having more endorsements, and which will also open more doors for you and also give you more income, because each of these, as you progress, more income can be had from these career areas. And these stackable credentials, there's a lot of different fields that we could have done this kind of a diagram with. So, just think about when you pick something, it may lead to a lot of other interesting options for you.
Now, Andrea just mentioned CCV a couple times, the Community College of Vermont. We're moving into a phase of this presentation where we're going to just really share with you some of the programs that are out there in these different areas. Community College of Vermont is one of our go-to locations because they do offer so much in the form of certificate programs. So a certificate program is typically about a year of full-time training at the community college level to receive their certificate, though each program is a little bit different. So as we shared on previous slides, these are all hyperlinked. So these are all certificate programs that are currently available at the Community College of Vermont. When we first listed this on the slide for an earlier presentation, we have these plus signs for those that are offered fully online. Well, currently they all are offered fully online as well. But it is a nice thing that CCV was already doing, is offering so much remotely so that people throughout Vermont, even if you're in a rural area, can still access classes for these programs if it's difficult to physically get to one of their centers. I'm also really excited to share that CCV has just announced that they're going to be offering 4 additional certificate programs starting this fall. So we just received the list of these. They're going to be offering a certificate in community health, one in cloud computing, another one in entrepreneurial studies, and the final one is in HR management, so human resources management. The driver for a lot of these certificate programs is really the labor market in Vermont. They look for short-term training programs where there is a gap of training available for people to fill jobs. And an exciting thing is really the wide variety of them. Before we ran into some technical difficulties here, one of the things we wanted to do in this presentation was show you a couple of examples, but I'll describe them for you instead. A really interesting certificate that they offer here, which is really unique just to CCB in Vermont, is the funeral director certification. This one was developed because it's an occupation where many people are retiring and there wasn't a younger workforce to move in and fill some of these roles. There's quite a gap. And so they developed this program. A really exciting piece of it is that it's actually a registered apprenticeship in Vermont as well. So this is an example of a certificate that connects with an apprenticeship program. So the individual who wants to learn to become a funeral director has a connection with a real job site to learn on the job while they're taking courses. It's a great way to really connect with that world of work in a meaningful way. Another exciting one that we really wanted to share with you a little bit deeper are some of these IT certifications that are available. So IT service desk specialist, for example, cybersecurity fundamentals. Some of these stacked together, as Andrea was describing, can really lead to an individual having just a really full set of skills to be able to move around in different types of computer related work. So there's some really nice flexibility and overlap between these where they can be stackable for you as well.
Okay, and so Vermont Technical College also has an extensive continuing education and workforce development program in many different areas, and many of these lead to different types of certifications. We were going to try to show you a little bit, we were going to talk a little bit about the electrical and plumbing apprenticeship, and we were also going to talk about agriculture and food systems, but there's a lot of individual courses that are also really interesting, and many of them are stackable and can lead to certificates, but it's hard to, I can't really highlight anything at this point, but in the healthcare heading, that's where they offer phlebotomy. So, if you decided to look at the website, at the VTC website under continuing ed, you could click on any of these areas and find out more about what types of things are being offered. Some of them are, some of them have not been offered much lately because some of them do require an in-person component. So, I think, for example, some of the green trainings I think have been kind of on hold, but hopefully they will be resuming before too long. Suzie, did you have anything you wanted to add here? Because without showing an example, I am kind of
Yeah, I know it makes it a little more challenging. I would just encourage people. I mean, one of the really great things about Vermont Technical College is their website. So you could look on your own as well, or when you receive a copy of the PowerPoint, go ahead and click on some of these options. If you were to click on, for example, agriculture and food systems, you would find a group of different courses that are available under that. It's really the variety. It feels like there's really something for everyone. And they range from, for example, I might personally be interested in backyard beekeeping, or I may wanted to go for a full certification in greenhouse management. It really, the variety is really quite exciting.
Suzie, I'm back on now. Would you like me to try sharing my screen to see some of those?
Oh, okay, let's do it. That would be wonderful. Do I need to stop sharing for you to be able to do that?
I can take over. Would you like to be on this page or one of the other ones?
Yeah, Andrea, I think this was one that we wanted to highlight on that page. Does that look okay to you?
Yeah, it's very small writing, so if you can read, if you could scroll down a tiny bit, Anna, yeah. That's better, it's bigger. Yeah, it's great. So you can see here when they talk about these electrical and plumbing apprenticeship, they're saying here that you have to complete 144 hours of classroom instruction each year. And you work on the job during the same time period under a master electrician or plumber. So you can obtain your required 8,000 on the job hours, and then you can sit for the, journeyman's licensure exam. And as we mentioned before, the OSHA training, so this is another training that you also would take as part of one of these apprenticeships. And they're saying that the apprenticeship program really lasts 4 years. So there's also exam preparation workshops, code updates. There's a lot of things that are being offered to people who are in these apprenticeship programs. One of the important things about the apprenticeship program is you do have to identify and connect with an employer who wants to have you as their apprentice. So, if you do contact the Department of Labor or VTC, they can talk with you about how to go about doing that, because that is an aspect of the program that you have to, they don't, as far as I know, they don't find you apprenticeships with, employers. You have to make a connection. How does that work, Suzie? Because you used to work at the Department of Labor.
It's one of those areas where they say every door is the right door. There are a number of different ways that you can connect with an employer around apprenticeship. So sometimes it happens locally. You may walk over to your local electrician's shop and talk to them and find that they're looking for an apprentice. And then that's where you get started. You might connect with Vermont Technical College and start a couple of classes. And then actually I had a student who did it this way recently. They wanted to test out the classes to see if it was the right career path for them before formally jumping into a work commitment with an employer. So the college allowed them to do that. And then that same student was able to, through the Vermont Department of Labor's website, go through a list of businesses that have had apprentices in the past and then contact those businesses. So there is some legwork on the part of the student and sometimes on the part of the parent supporting that student. And I think that can be really important, especially because you even with an occupation, say like electrician, there are a number of different work environments. There are a number of different size shops. So in exploring some different workplaces, you can even find the right fit for the student that way.
Thank you. Do we want to take a look at the one that has to do with agriculture and food systems very briefly? Would that be okay? Yeah. Yeah, just so you can see the kinds of things that might be offered. This is quite a variety, so meat cutting, logging, artificial insemination of cattle. So if you want to, Anna, if you could just go down the list a little bit. So these are things that are being offered this spring, and, probably next year as well, you would find a similar list. Tree pruning, yeah, and craft distilling, a lot of interesting things. Yeah, so I guess if we clicked on one of those actual things, we might find out a little bit more about the training, but I don't know that we need to do that. I think just so you know, when you go to the website, you can see some of these and you can learn more about them. Thank you.
Great. So Anna, at this point, should I share my screen again? Why don't I try that? I think that'll
Yeah,
work.
just in case.
Great.
Crash.
Okay, there it is. Great. Can everybody see that okay?
And I don't know, did you guys see that there was a question in the chat? I'm sorry if I missed you
No,
answering.
no, we didn't.
Yeah, actually, I think we were just talking about that. Do the colleges arrange for apprenticeship? Is that the one?
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I didn't see the chat, by the way. I'm not seeing it.
Okay.
That's all right. As long as somebody's seeing it, that's good.
Actually, I do have one other thought on that question, though. I'd just like to highlight that the Vermont Department of Labor has team members at their local offices who can really do some work around this to support people with finding the right site for an apprenticeship as well. So I'm down in Brattleboro, so I'm more familiar with our Brattleboro up to Springfield offices. But I know the team members there, if you were to contact them, especially if you were to speak to one of their WIOA program case managers, they are much more familiar with which businesses in the area might be looking for apprentices and can help with some of that legwork as well. So that's another great resource that you might like to check out for that. But there are other colleges in Vermont which also offer short-term trainings and certificate programs. And again, just like the couple that we've already highlighted, there's a lot of variety. So really what we're trying to do here is to show you there's a lot out there. It takes some research to really find what they are, but hopefully these resources will help you in your exploration with connecting a little bit easier. A great one for some agricultural, but also a wide variety of other trainings is the University of Vermont's Continuing and Distance Education Program. Northern Vermont University as well has a continuing education program where they offer a variety of different types of certifications and trainings, as does Castleton State College. Even St. Michael's College offers some as well. So we see it not just in the state college system, but in some private institutions as well. And then finally, the Champlain College Centers for Experience, also offers programs, each unique. At all of them, they have at least some programs where you don't have to be a regular enrolled degree-seeking student. You could be just a continuing education student wanting to try out one class or a series of classes. I know on this slide, we were hoping to take a look at a couple of these. Anna, if we could go to the UVM Continuing and Distance Education link. Great. So if we were to scroll down on here, again, you'll see there are a wide variety. There are different groupings of courses under each of these headers. So there's the Center for Leadership and Innovation, Education and Social Services, Environment and Sustainability. I think it's under the Environment and Sustainability that I was hoping to show a little bit more here. If you could click on that one. And then if we were to scroll down, again, even under the Environment and Sustainability, there are a wide variety of programs. There's that Introduction to Beekeeping I mentioned just a minute ago. And one that I think is really just says Vermont and offers some great resources for people is the Farmer Training Program. Actually, if we could click on that as an example as well. So again, Vermont, we have trainings for just about everything, and the Farmer Training Program is one that you can apply now for this program. I believe it's a 6-month program with some intensive hands-on skill-based education in agriculture. So again, it's just another example of there's something for everyone out there. Okay. And I would also just like to note, we're and I think I may have said this already, there are other schools in Vermont that also have training. There are other colleges that we haven't even mentioned. We're just trying to hit some of the big ones to, again, give you some great resources. And now I'll go back over to our PowerPoint. And there we are. There you go, Andrea.
Yes, and so we also have a whole variety of tech centers all around the state. You can see on the map, they're really everywhere in the state. And each of the tech centers, each of the 16 tech centers also offer career trainings and certifications for adults as well as high school students. So there's daytime programs, and adults can participate sometimes in daytime programs if there's room after the high school students have been connected with them. But there's also a lot of programs for adults, and we actually were hoping to highlight one of them, but I guess if we can't do that, I was just going to say, I'll just give an example, some of the ones that I really know about, oh, okay, now we're.
Oh, I think she may be able to. Great.
Okay, great. So we thought we would highlight Stafford, which is in Rutland. And Stafford has a lot of programs for adults. And let's just see what kinds of things. So you can see here. Okay, so they offer, and I think what I'm not clear about from this one, Susie, maybe you would be clear, are these the ones that are offered? So these are all for adults. So for example, okay, so we have welding, we have HVAC, LNA, which is offered at many tech centers, forklift, heavy equipment, natural gas certification. So there's a lot of programs through the Stafford Tech Center, LNA programs. Not every tech center has every program. So there may be something you might be interested in. Let's just see. They have, they have a lot of these are offered at other places as well. Stafford also offers CDL training, which some tech centers don't do that. So, and then the MNA, which was a licensed nursing assistant, but the medication nursing assistant, they offer that one, which is not offered at every tech center. And you can see if we just stop for a minute along the way. So it gives you an idea of how long the class might go. So the LNA class starting in February, ending in June, twice a week for just 3.5 hours. So people can work during the day and they can still attend the class. Maybe we can go down a little bit further. Okay, so they have a lot of LNA. The MNA is also, that one's 2 months, well, not even 2 months in the summer. So you can build on your LNA with an MNA. And then they have the phlebotomy they also offer. And that one you can see is once a week, but it's for, probably 4 months. So there's a lot of classes offered around the state. There are some programs that are only offered in a few locations. And we can stop with Stafford for now if you like. Thank you. So there's a program offered up in Essex at the Essex Center for Technology. They have a dental assisting program, and that program is not offered everywhere. I think there may be 1 or 2 others. Susie, do you know?
Not down in southern Vermont that I'm aware of. So yeah,
it's
often we'll look at others.
Yeah, but that's a really great one because you really can get a wonderful job at a dentist's office. And I had someone recently who's been a dental assistant for many years, and now she's decided to take the next step and go into dental hygiene and pursue that program. There's also the, what is the one that has to do with working on airplanes? I think that's through the Burlington Technical Center has airplane mechanic training. And I think that's the only site that has that, which probably, I mean, there are a couple of small airports, but you know, that's the one that's connected to the biggest airport. So I think it's really worth looking at some of the offerings, especially if the tech center is somewhere close enough to you, if it requires an in-person component. Okay, next slide, please.
So as we mentioned, there are a lot of other training programs out there, and then we just can't list them all. So there are some tricks that you can use to find out what else is out there to help you in your search. One of the best resources that I like to use is called the Vermont WIOA Eligible Training Provider List. So earlier I mentioned the Vermont Department of Labor and WIOA counselors. So WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, is a program that's facilitated by the Vermont Department of Labor. And in part of that program, what they do is they look at training providers in Vermont and actually outside of Vermont as well, because a lot of people do cross the border to find training programs. And they keep a list of the training providers that they've done some research on that, and this list will include information around what classes they offer, where are they located, the cost, and what sort of credentials you can receive for that program. And those are also the programs that if you were working with the WIOA program at the Vermont Department of Labor, that if you qualified for their program, potentially they could help with some funding. But that list is a great resource to see what is out there. For example, we haven't even spoken about massage therapy training programs. There are a number of them around Vermont, and this list is a great way to find out where those are being offered. As Andrea mentioned, the Stafford Tech Center offers a CDL program. There are a number of schools around Vermont that offer commercial driver license training. And one of the best ways to see who is offering those is to go directly to the Vermont Department of Motor Vehicles website. So this will link you there to the list of the schools that provide that training around Vermont. There are also some great online resources for finding classes. And so we've listed two of the big ones here. Ed2Go, it is just a huge resource. It's amazing how many courses, hundreds of online classes, ranging from introduction to writing up to full certifications. So the price ranges from, I think I've seen some for $15 up to thousands of dollars, depending on the training program. So this is also just a place, if you can't find it in your community, you may be able to find it on Ed2Go. Or another way I like to look at it is if you were thinking about a bigger training program, Ed2Go might be a great resource to take a short, small class in a subject area to explore it, to really see if it's the right fit for you before taking a bigger step. And then finally, a free resource that I think a lot of people just overlook, which is just amazing, is the universal classes through the Vermont State Libraries. So over 500 free online courses for all library users. So again, I'm down in Brattleboro, our Brattleboro library. With my library card, I can log in and take courses for free. There are many in there that do lead to continuing education credits and certifications. So definitely a resource worth exploring further.
Also, I just want to say one thing about the universal classes. If you were going to be starting a program and you didn't have, let's say you were doing something related to medical or healthcare, you could take a free class in medical terminology, for example, through universal classes. And though you don't get credit, you can put it on your resume that you've completed these classes. And if you're looking for a job and you want to work in a health setting and you've taken medical terminology or you've taken other classes that relate to perhaps the job that you're looking for, it will enhance your resume to have those classes as well. And I've been told that if you do medical billing and coding through Universal, if you are a good independent studier, you can have enough information to actually sit for the national exam. Not everybody would do it that way, but some people can do it that way. So, you know, they can actually really lead to, you know, to actual certifications. Okay, thank you. Okay, so of course, online has become a lot more popular in the last year, though it has been, you know, it's become more popular over the last few years. And for all of you high school students, I know you've all been doing a lot of online learning this year. But if you do decide you want to pursue online programs after high school, there's a lot of online programs out there, and you have to be a very careful shopper. You have to be very thorough in finding out as much as you can about the program and making sure that it's a good fit for you, that there's enough support being offered by the program, that it has accreditation of some kind and it's industry recognized credentials, because there's so many places offering online trainings now, and you have to really be a critical, you know, careful decider about what program is really going to make sense for you. Also, some of the, well, we're going to talk about funding in a little while, but there's different, you know, costs involved. Some of the places that offer online programs are private for-profit organizations, and you have to be very careful when you're dealing with those kinds of schools and organizations, and make sure that they're really offering what they say they're offering. So, you know, buyer beware with those kinds of programs. But again, you know, you can get a lot of help from VSAC and from counselors around the state about, you know, guiding you a little bit about making choices if you have found something and you want to know more about it. What are the best ways to learn what you need to know? And also, if online learning is the right fit for you at all. Some people, you know, really that's not the best fit for them. Okay.
Now we're going to talk about money. So one of the challenges with any sort of higher education, again, is that there's often a cost associated with it. One of our goals at VSAC when we're working with people is to get the cost as low as possible. We hate to see people burdened with any sort of debt to be able to pursue their education. So the resources that we're going to be covering today are gift aid in the form of grants and scholarships. So these would all be funding sources that you wouldn't need to pay back that you may be able to qualify for. We're just going to be touching on them briefly to give you an overview of them. But when you're pursuing your education, I would encourage you to look further into these, and don't hesitate to contact one of us. We're happy to help you with understanding your options around financial aid, helping you apply for financial aid, and pull the pieces together. So one of our more popular grants that we help people connect with for either certificates or different career training or short-term trainings is called the Vermont Advancement Grant. You may have heard of it in the past. It was formerly known as the non-degree grant, because it is often used for things that are not formal college degrees, but now it has this great new name. This grant is intended to help Vermonters enhance their job skills that improve employability, or it also can be used for students who are wanting to try out a college class or two to see if it's the right fit if they are considering a degree program in the future. The maximum award under this current school year is $3,000. And just like a lot of grants, the way it's determined is an evaluation of you and your family's income and assets. So there's an application that can be completed. The VSAC website has this great section called My VSAC, where you can set up an account. And in that account, you can apply for a variety of state financial aid. So you could apply for the advancement grant under your My VSAC portal, or there's a paper application if you like to do things pen and paper. But again, we help people with these things all day, every day. So we often will sit down with you if you like, if you need that kind of help, we're happy to do it. So just let us know. There's also, this is a fairly new scholarship. I think it's been around for just a little over a year, the Curtis COV, or Credential of Value Training Scholarship. This scholarship can cover $500 to $1,500 for eligible students. It's specifically designed for students who are pursuing certificate programs and credentials of value. Students must work with a VSAC EOC counselor to be nominated for this scholarship. So this is something that Andrea or I or any other VSAC EOC counselor could nominate you for if you were pursuing a certificate program and you had a gap in financial aid. So for example, you may be receiving a Vermont advancement grant for $3,000 towards the cost of your training, but your training might cost more than that. And so if you have a gap and if you have need, we may be able to help with nominations for scholarships such as this one to help make a difference. To make things a little more complicated, there are other grants, and sometimes it depends on your situation and what pathway you're taking, which one is the right fit for you. But we have this great, the Vermont grant. And this can be a great option for students if you're qualifying for Title IV or traditional college funding. So many of those programs that we highlighted earlier today are at different colleges. Many of those would qualify for traditional college funding or potentially the Vermont grant. So we can help you. What we often like to do is to sit down with a student, talk about what program you're interested in, and then map out some different financial aid pathways that may be a good fit for you and find out which one might give you the best benefit. Sometimes the advancement grant is the right path. Sometimes the Vermont grant is the right path. Sometimes a semester on the advancement grant and then transitioning to the Vermont grant is a path depending on what you're doing. So it can get pretty complicated, and the whole world of financial aid can be like that. But again, that's why we're here to help you through those pieces. Andrea, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind people that these types of grants and this scholarship are only available to you if you've graduated from high school. So it would not be available to you, for example, between your junior and senior year in high school or something like that, or while you're a high school senior. You have to have graduated from high school to receive these grants. So
actually, that reminds me too. A student can potentially qualify up to 6 advancement grants in their lifetime. Again, they look at your income and assets to see if you might qualify. But using it once doesn't mean you've used it and it's gone. So for some of those stackable credentials, we've seen students apply for multiple advancement grants over multiple years as they're continuing in their career and growing. So it can be a great option if you're piecing together a pathway for yourself for education.
And one other thing I wanted to add also is that the Curtis COV Training Scholarship is not always available. We are given, in any given fiscal year, we're told we have a certain number that we can offer. So it's often, we don't know how many we're going to have. And right now, for example, I don't have any left at this moment because I used up the 7 that I was given and I've been able to give them out. We hope we'll just keep getting more, but that's not always available. Okay, thank you.
And I'm looking at the time, I'm realizing it is 7:30 already. So we may run a few minutes over, but we have a little more information we still want to cover with you all.
Yes, I just wanted to just briefly go over some of the other organizations, agency partners who also have resources available to assist with funding and with support services around further education. Suzie mentioned WIOA, so I just want to put in another plug for the WIOA program through the Department of Labor. Some people are eligible for services from the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. And if you have any kind of a documented disability or an IEP from high school, you may be eligible for services from them. The Veterans Administration is another resource. The Reach Up program through the Department of Economic Services is also a program that has resources available, and that's usually for people who are single parents. And then there may be other funding resources locally. There may be organizations. Do you have an example of another example of one of those local organizations, Suzie?
Sure. Actually, I was just thinking about one today. I received an email about, I think it's called the John Penfield Scholarship through the Brattleboro Sunrise Rotary Club. So there are local resources like that. This is a specific scholarship that they give out. It's $2,500 for somebody pursuing a career in the childcare industry. And so that's a really exciting one. And usually in your local communities, you will see things like that. For anybody who's a current high school senior, right now I know our guidance counselors locally are posting in the Navient site, or maybe your high school has a different type of site where they're posting all of the different scholarships. Now, many times people are thinking those scholarships are for traditional college, but there are a number of scholarships that love to see people go on to short-term training, career training, certificates, especially traditional apprenticeable fields. I'm seeing a number in there. Just yesterday, I took a look at our local schools and I saw a couple specifically for the construction field, which were great resources for students. So locally, you have to dig around, but there are some really exciting options for funding. And now we're at the place for questions. So if anybody does have any additional questions or thoughts for us, I know we are running late, but we would be still happy to answer any questions that you might have. So feel free to type them in the chat, or you can raise your hand virtually and we can try to help you. And while we're seeing if any questions come in, I'm just going to click onto the next slide here, because sometimes people don't want to ask their question in such a public way. So if instead you wanted to reach out to any of us, again, VSAC is a great nonprofit. We're really open to hearing from anybody with questions to see how we can help. So you can call us. There's our 877 number. Where you can call and schedule an individual appointment, or you'll see on the right-hand side, there are different regions around the state, and there's a name, a phone number, and an email address. So if you wanted to find the counselor in your region and reach out to them, we're all happy to help you.